If you look back at some of my recent videos, you'll see that I did a kind of, sort of, very incomplete review of a new TV show called Starfleet Academy. Now, I'm old enough to have played the video game Starfleet Academy from long ago. I'm also old enough to have attended a military school. My father was a captain in the Army, and I've written 26 military science fiction books. So suffice to say, I've got at least a little bit of knowledge about the military, and how people are trained in the military, and why people are trained in the military. And I've also authored books about a futuristic space fleet. So that puts me in kind of a unique position where I just might be able to write a story about a futuristic academy where they teach young students how to become officers in the fleet and the Marines of a futuristic space fleet. Any of this sound familiar? Okay. I've already written 2 books in my Starships universe that star a group of young people called the Silver Eagles. You will find these books to be distantly connected to the idea of a futuristic space academy where kids learn futuristic spaceship stuff in a military context so that they can go out into space and have adventures and confront aliens and do all the kinds of things that people aboard starships do. Would that be of any interest to anybody? Because I know that there's already 3 human lifetimes of complaining about this new TV show on the internet. They don't seem to be able to get it right. My question is, how badly do people want to get this right? Because if you want to get it right, I might be able to help. And as an example of what I can do, here's an excerpt from one of my books called Silver Eagles, where my Marine Ground Forces commander, aboard the big spaceship that's at the center of all the adventures that my characters have, is talking to a civilian educational committee about their ideas for teaching kids about the futuristic technologies, and the Colonel's ideas about how to properly teach the kids about futuristic technologies. I think it might be instructive. Strangely enough, I give you the Silver Eagles. By the way, I'd be very interested to hear your ideas and reactions in the comments.
Colonel, you seem unusually confrontational, Needleman said. Are you not supportive of our efforts here? All 3 of Moo's fellow officers thought the same thing. The committee members simply did not understand Marines, nor did they understand the silent but superhuman efforts underway to keep the colonel from clearing the room. Hunter decided to let him go. After all, it was time. No, I'm not supportive of your efforts at all, Lou replied. 8 committee members blanched almost simultaneously. I think this is a passive-aggressive effort to crush the morale of your students, especially the young men. I think you're surreptitiously diverting already mandated budgets away from the basics and catastrophically overspending on fluff and nonsense which will never produce measurable results. Boys learn by doing, not sitting quietly under an air conditioner. Colonel, let me tell you about my education. I had to carry my company sergeant almost half a mile to our unit's field hospital during First Victorian. He had second-degree burns on 60% of his body and 2 shattered legs. I had a cracked elbow and a concussion. There were 4 of us at the end. We had just defeated the last wave of Sarn infantry without ammunition. It was middle of the night, 20 below zero, knives and fists. Harmo got a Purple Heart and a medical discharge. I got a Bronze Star. Nobody spoke. The reason we survived and the sergeant got to go home to his 1-year-old son is because Harmo taught us how to be men. When we went to war, he taught us our duty. Kill enemy personnel and break things. We say to those we're sworn to protect, you need fear no enemy. Not on my watch. That's the only education I need. Tech Sergeant Harmo, 3rd Battalion 5th, taught me what it takes to be a Skywatch Marine. All 3 of Moo's friends listened quietly. They had heard the stories before, but for some reason this time they were just a touch more powerful. The captain ran into a couple of the students you claimed to be so concerned about yesterday. One's ready to give up on himself and the other is devastated. So I had my clerk do a little digging. Your pals in the front office pulled all the funding from your outdoor programs, so none of the kids can earn their survival awards by actually doing the exercises at camp. They watch it all on a screen. You pulled all the remote flight gear, claiming the drones and models are too dangerous. You took away their soldering and welding equipment because someone might burn themselves, which closed up all the electronics and mechanical design classes. All the field trips have been defunded. So have the clubs. You don't even do fire drills properly anymore. This new program you've come up with sounds like the students can have all the togetherness they want, as long as they aren't building anything with their hands or going outside. I'm not certain I understand how this equates to teaching experience, Colonel, Needleman said. Captain Hunter hired me to train boys not much older than your students to assemble, repair, and operate armored vehicles that are worth 9 times this school's annual budget. The commander here teaches those same boys to run 3-story tall fusion reactors while being shot at. Meanwhile, at all the primary schools in this district, half the kids can't read at grade level. There's a library a quarter mile from where I'm sitting. You and a half dozen other elected officials went out of your way to close. Now you want us to go pose for pictures with you, so you can leech our credibility while questioning our competence. You got instructors on this campus bullying their own students. You want my endorsement? You go back to basics. We need bright students with technical knowledge and vision. How is back to basics going to help us innovate? Needleman sputtered. Marines live by basics. You know why we don't march in step over a bridge? The volume in Moo's voice started to rise. He surveyed the entire group as he spoke. The members all looked at each other with confused expressions, because it might generate harmonics in the structure and create mechanical stress. If you create enough mechanical stress in a bridge, your formation ends up in the river. And then your armor, supply transports, and recon vehicles all become fixed targets. We spend an entire day on socks in recruit training. You know why? Because if a young man doesn't know how to care for his socks, his feet are going to end up looking like someone threw a pig out of a moving train, and he won't be able to march at all. And then he becomes a target. Did you know 6% of our ship's crew is assigned to food and water? You know why? Because the force with the best food wins. We teach basics because basics gain ground. You seem to describe everything in military terms. I'm an officer in the Skywatch Marine Corps. What did you expect? Floral prints? We're not Marines, sir. No apology is necessary. This all sounds rather violent, another committee member said to Needleman. It's all part of the training. What training is that, Colonel? Needleman asked. We teach every Marine the same thing. Fight like Noah's Ark is boarding, and you're the third monkey. It had become clear the committee wasn't going to make any progress with Moo. Nevertheless, one member made one last attempt. You seem to be overly critical of our teaching methods. How would you teach these classes? Where would you start? Breakfast. I beg your pardon? I'll bet you 2 paychecks. Half these kids didn't eat breakfast today. And if they did, it was a piece of frosted cardboard or some burnt toast. If I were teaching school, we'd start the day with eggs, cheese, fruit, sliced ham, and juice served on a plate, placed on a table between a fork and a knife. That would be catastrophically expensive, one of the women exclaimed. Cheaper than trying to teach starving children calculus, Moo shot back. Also cheaper than cleaning up 3 miles of wreckage after one of those starving kids gets a job where they need to know math. Like air traffic control, ordnance transport. Go on, Colonel, Hunter said. Then we'd hit the nearest park with a lake or stream and issue every student a camera and a hat. Each kid's orders would be to get me 3 unique photographs of anything breathing that isn't human. Then we do a 500-yard run. Then we break for orange slices. Then we build kites. First 6 to get a strung kite airborne for 10 seconds or more gets appointed squad leader. After that, we learn how to make grilled cheese and scrambled eggs. Best tasting dish gets appointed class cook. Then we go back out on an expedition to find walking sticks for day 2. That sounds like so much fun, Zoni giggled. She leaned forward and watched the Colonel. What happens on day 2?
The rest of the story is only one click away. Find the link and join us at the home for critically acclaimed science fiction, fantasy, gamelit, comics, and more. Exciting new chapters are waiting for you right now. Join the adventure today.